You're tuning in to Nightline with me, Sabrina Zainal. The headlines. PM to unveil a new cabinet lineup on Friday. And daily COVID-19 cases hit record high. Good morning. The Pentagon on Thursday confirmed 2 explosions near Hamid Karzai International Airport in Kabul, which have resulted in a number of U.S. and civilian casualties. Now, Pentagon spokesperson John Kirby said one explosion hit Abbey Gate, while another explosion went off at the Baron Hotel, not far from Abbey Gate. Earlier reports said that it was a suicide blast with small arms gunfire heard around the airport premises. The U.S. Embassy in Kabul described the explosion as large and urged Americans to avoid travel to the airport and its gates. Friday, August 27th at 11 a.m. That's when the nation shall hear the Prime Minister unveiling the list of his cabinet members. According to the Prime Minister's office, PMO, the King has consented to Datuk Sri Ismail Sabri Yaakob's lineup. It was earlier reported that the Yang di-Pertuan Agong Al-Sultan Abdullah Riayatuddin Al-Mustafa Billah Shah has given the nod to the list of the new cabinet members presented by the Prime Minister, who is also the Burra Member of Parliament. Istana Negara had noted that the King had an audience with Datuk Sri Ismail Sabri at 11 a.m. on Thursday for an hour and a half at Istana Abdul Aziz in Indira Mahkota, Pahang. It was the second audience Datuk Sri Ismail Sabri had since he was appointed as the Prime Minister. The first audience with the King was after the swearing-in ceremony last Saturday, August 21st. In a statement, the PMO also said the swearing-in ceremony of ministers and deputy ministers will take place at 2:30 p.m. on Monday. The unveiling of the cabinet on Friday will be telecast live on TV3. The nation recorded 3 COVID-19 daily highs on Thursday, the most number of infections, the most number of deaths, and the highest cases of brought-in dead. The Health Ministry said that more than 24,000 new cases were detected. Selangor recorded the highest number of cases with nearly 7,000 cases, followed by Sabah and Johor. A record 393 patients succumbed to the deadly virus, with the brought-in dead cases at 3 digits. With that, the country's COVID-19 death toll rose to 15,211. However, the number of patients in intensive care units has decreased to below the 1,000 mark, with 487 in need of ventilators. Of the 35 new clusters detected, 20 were related to workplaces. Now, the decision to halt the involvement of private general practitioners in the National COVID-19 Immunization Program, PIC, in the Klang Valley is only temporary. The Health Ministry and the Science, Technology and Innovation Ministry said the decision was made after studying various factors such as the capacity of the vaccination centers, PPV, the number of vaccines and the supplies, as well as the number of people who still need to be vaccinated. It said that it was in line with the implementation of PIC, which is to ensure the vaccination rates are high and done as swiftly as possible. The vaccination rates will then gradually decrease as more people receive the COVID-19 vaccine shots. It was reported that more than 700 private clinics were stopped from administering COVID-19 vaccines under PIC. The statement said that the involvement of GPs, which began in May, had contributed to the success of the recent Operation Surge capacity, which saw most Klang Valley residents being vaccinated. To date, 1,688 out of about 7,000 GPs nationwide had taken part in PIC. Civil servants must immediately stand up, unite, and continue to help the country fight COVID-19 despite facing pressure, emotional instability, and pandemic exhaustion. Director General of Public Services Department Tan Sri Muhammad Khairul Adib Abdul Rahman said the changes that have taken place now require civil servants to adapt to the new normal.
Saya menyeru bagi mengukuhkan kekuatan dalaman. Kita perlu segera beradaptasi terhadap normal baru dalam kehidupan maupun pekerjaan. Adaptasi yang diambil akan mampu menjadi perisai kepada kita untuk mendepani tekanan, kebimbangan dan memperkasakan daya tindak diri. Kita sebagai penjawat awam mesti terbuka dalam menerima teguran yang membina untuk kebaikan bersama.
He was speaking at the virtual monthly assembly of the Public Service Department, PSD, themed Strengthening Resilience Facing Uncertainty on Thursday. He added the civil servants are also responsible for ensuring that the stability of the country remains intact through a strong government administration guided by the Rukun Negara. At the same event, he also launched the Public Services Value Practice Management System, SPAN 2.0. The system focuses on three main components, namely value program management, value auditing, and intervention. In other news, a total of 180,000 doses of CanSino single-dose COVID-19 vaccines have been sent to Sabah. Health Director General Tan Sri Dr. Noor Hisham Abdullah said it is hoped that the CanSino vaccine can help expedite and ramp up the vaccination rate, especially in the rural areas and among the identified targeted group in Sabah. Earlier this week, Sabah Health Director Dr. Rose Nanimudin was reported as saying that Sabah received the first batch of 53,000 doses of the CanSino vaccine last Tuesday, and the subsequent batches were expected to arrive later this month.
A world-renowned economist, leader in sustainable development, public policy analyst, senior United Nations advisor and best-selling author. Also syndicated columnist whose monthly newspaper columns appear in more than 100 countries. Money Matters speaks with Professor Jeffrey Sachs with me, Muhammad Ahmad Hamdan, this Saturday at 5 p.m. only on TV3.
Media Prima Berhad has announced a net profit of 12.7 million ringgit for the 3 months ended June 30th, 2021. This represented a positive swing from a net loss of 18 million ringgit a year ago. This was achieved on the back of a 24% increase in group revenue to 292.4 million ringgit against 236.3 million ringgit in Q2, driven by higher advertising revenue despite the continued challenges linked to the nationwide lockdown due to resurgence of COVID-19 cases. Media Prima Group Chairman Datuk Sri Syed Hussein Al-Junaid said the results marked yet another strong performance with its fourth consecutive quarterly profit. The company also recorded stronger advertising revenue despite the tougher economic conditions exacerbated by the pandemic. In a separate statement, he said Media Prima was also pleased with the success of the sales team at Media Prima Omnia, which has illustrated its strength in not just selling advertising space, but in providing sales solutions that cater to the needs of clients. Group Executive Director Rafiq Razali, meanwhile, said despite the impact of COVID-19, the group's momentum was strong and it had seen encouraging signs of recovery for some segments. Advertising revenue increased across the group, particularly in television advertising. Media Prima expects the uptrend in advertising expenditure to continue for the remaining quarters as the government ramps up the national COVID-19 immunization program and opens up the economy further under the National Recovery Plan. After several years of losses, Media Prima said its publishing segment had turned around with a profitable first half. NSTP posted a net profit of 1.1 million ringgit in Q2, driven by a 50% increase in advertising revenue and supported by a more optimal cost structure. Malaysia Digital Economy Corporation MDEC has launched the Global Technology Grant GTG, which provides up to 2 million ringgit funding for technology companies and technology accelerators to expand their global market presence. The initiative is aimed at nurturing global champions, driving investments, and catalyzing a digital innovation ecosystem. In a statement, MDEC said the funding is open to both local and foreign-owned tech companies and must be in operation for at least 1 year. For local local companies, they must have a minimum issued and paid up capital of 20,000 ringgit and a minimum of 51% equity held by Malaysians. On the other hand, foreign-owned companies must be incorporated in Malaysia under either of the Companies Acts with a minimum issued and paid up capital of 500,000 ringgit. Submissions for the GTG are open from Friday to September 15th, with evaluation and approvals set to be completed by October. The domestic aviation sector is expected to get back on track to pre-pandemic levels by end of next year. National carrier Malaysia Airlines Berhad, however, believed full recovery for the international routes would happen only in middle 2023 or early 2024, depending on the pandemic situation.
We are quite positive that the restart will start somewhere in quarter 4, and we will still get back to the pre-pandemic level for domestic roughly by end of 2022 if the situation improves as the current projection. But for international, it's a much more longer outlook.
Malaysia Airlines currently handles around 1,000 passengers a day compared to 28,000 peak during pre-pandemic times. The national carrier still operates its international flights with reduced frequency to serve students and frontliners. They include flights to London, Australia, South Korea and Japan. Meanwhile, the Civil Aviation Authority of Malaysia is expected to introduce a plan next month to help airlines save time fuel cost. Still to come on Nightline, Customs Department foils attempt to smuggle out drugs worth over 6 million ringgit. Thanks for staying with us. The Royal Malaysian Customs Department have foiled an attempt to smuggle 184 kilograms of methamphetamine worth some 6.6 million ringgit out of the country through the KLIA International Airport. Through the KL International Airport, KLIA. Customs Director General Datuk Seri Abdul Latif Abdul Kadir said 4 suspects were also detained to assist in its probe. He said customs found the drugs stashed inside equipment declared as electric contact grill during an inspection at around 5:40 p.m. on August 16th. The syndicate had tried to hoodwink customs officers by declaring the goods as electrical equipment which came under the general cargo category. The drugs were sealed inside refined tea packages weighing 1 kilogram each.
Modus operandi sindiket ini telah mengaburi pihak berkuasa dengan cara mengikrarkan barang yang mengandungi dadah sebagai alat perkakasan dapur elektrik, iaitu barang yang dikategorikan sebagai general cargo.
He was speaking to reporters at the Customs Narcotics headquarters at Kampung Jijan near Nilai on Thursday. Datuk Sri Abdul Latif said based on preliminary probes, this was the 11th time the members of the syndicate had sent such a cargo through KLIA. He said 2 suspects, aged 35 and 43 years old, were detained with the drugs at KLIA. 2 more, aged 42 and 45, were detained in follow-up raids in Nilai. Customs have also obtained an order to remand the suspects for 14 days. The case is being investigated under Section 39B(1) of the Dangerous Drugs Act. A total of 30,000 recipients nationwide have benefited from the police's Op Bantu since it was launched in July. Inspector General of Police Datuk Sri Akril Sani Abdullah Sani said the initiative had succeeded in easing the burden of those affected by the COVID-19 pandemic.
Kalau dalam PDRM ni kan kita punya bahagian sampai kepada balai polis, ketua balai, pondok polis yang sepatutnya dan sewajarnya mereka ni hampir kepada masyarakat di mana mereka bertugas dan sewajarnya juga mereka mengetahui siapa yang ada di sana dan siapa yang memerlukan bantuan ya. Dan sekiranya kita kena pasti kita boleh salurkan kepada kewajiban masyarakat, kita boleh salurkan kepada pejabat daerah, kita boleh salurkan kepada yang berhormat yang berada di sana dan kita pun sama-sama berganding bahu.
The IGP said no target is set as the initiative will continue as long as the need arises. He said this after presenting the aid in Kulim, Kedah. Kedah Police Chief Datuk Kamarul Zaman Mamat was also present. For the record, the implementation of Op Bantu is a strategic collaboration among the Women, Family and Community Development Ministry and all district police headquarters nationwide, which are being used as aid distribution centres. In Negeri Sembilan, a 34-year-old police lance corporal pleaded not guilty at the Seremban Sessions Court on Thursday to 2 corruption charges totaling 2,000 ringgit. Lance Corporal Kamarul Zaman Muhammad Sanusi claimed trial to the charges, read before Judge Madiha Harullah. For the first charge, he was accused of accepting 1,000 ringgit from Muhammad Faisal Abdul Hamid to help a case involving Muhammad Rafiq Abdul Hamid while working at the Sepang District Police Station in Selangor. The offence was allegedly committed on January 16, 2019. For the second charge, the accused allegedly agreed to accept another 1,000 ringgit from the same individual 2 days later. Judge Madiha allowed the accused to be released on a 7,000 ringgit bail with 1 surety, and the next mention is fixed on September 29th. After the break, Indonesia warns early rainy season may trigger more natural disasters. Welcome back. Indonesia may experience more natural disasters in the coming months as the country's annual rainy season is expected to start earlier and be more severe this year. According to the country's meteorological agency, BMKG, Indonesia's rainy season is expected to begin a month earlier than usual in September. In a statement, BMKG urged local governments and the public to be aware, anticipate, and take early mitigation actions to avoid and reduce disaster risks, adding that the peak of the rainy season will occur in January and February next year. It said disasters linked to the weather conditions could include hail, lightning, and even tornadoes. BMKG also noted that heavier rainfall was expected in many parts of the archipelago, including in Java and Sulawesi, as well as part of Sumatra, Papua, and Borneo. Over in Venezuela, rescue workers are searching for more than a dozen people who are missing after landslides tore through towns in the country's western Merida state. With 10 more days of rain forecast, rescuers are racing to reach those feared buried before new mudslides are triggered. So far, 20 people are confirmed to have died, and emergency workers have yet to reach some of the worst-hit areas. President Nicolas Maduro said more than 8,000 homes had been destroyed, while 11 states were affected by the heavy rains. Most of the fatalities occurred in Merida in the Andes, where streets in mountain villages were converted into raging torrents. It is not the first time the Mocotíes Valley has been hit by deadly mudslides. In 2005, more than 40 people died and dozens went missing in the area when several rivers overflowed. New Zealand's Prime Minister Jacinda Ardern has dismissed criticism of her ambitious elimination strategy to stamp out COVID as the country's outbreak grows, saying the approach has saved lives and will continue to do so. Speaking on Thursday, Ardern said she was not fussed about debating and comparing different countries' COVID strategies and added that expert advice says New Zealand should continue to pursue elimination.
Overall, lockdown is having an impact. Firstly, we haven't seen spread beyond Auckland and Wellington, where there is a known link to the Auckland outbreak. If it weren't for lockdown, I'm sure we would have seen cases spread further.
The country is in a nationwide lockdown as it grapples with the Delta variant outbreak. The decision to place the country into a level 4 lockdown, the highest setting, was made after one case in the community emerged last week. On Thursday, the coronavirus outbreak grew by 68 cases, taking the total number of cases to 277. Bayern Munich in scoring mood. Sports up next. Sports now. National swimmer Muhammad Nur Shaiful Zulkafli achieved his best performance thus far when he broke his S5 men's 100-meter freestyle physical disabilities personal record at the Tokyo Paralympic Games. Starting in the first lane, Nur Shaiful finished 7th out of 8 swimmers in the event at the Tokyo Aquatic Center on Thursday. The Sarawak swimmer recorded a time of 1 minute 15.12 seconds, thus erasing his previous personal best of 1 minute 15.39 seconds that he set in London in 2019. Italian Francesco Bocciardo put up a great performance to grab the gold with a time of 1 minute 9.56 seconds, followed by Chinese swimmer Li Chao Wang, while Daniel de Faria Diaz of Brazil failed to defend the gold he won in Rio 2016 and had to settle for bronze. Earlier, Nur Shaiful had advanced to the final after finishing 3rd in the first of 2 qualifying heats and was 7th best out of 13 swimmers overall. Meanwhile, the national track cycling squad riders did not stand out on their first day of competition at the Tokyo Paralympic Games. Nur Azlia Shafinaz Muhammad Zais with her helmsman Nurul Suhada Zainal, who started the national squad's campaign at the Izu Velodrome Thursday morning, finished in 9th place in the women's 1,000 meters time trial in the B visual impairment category with a time of 1 minute 15.005 seconds. In the men's 3,000 meter pursuit C1 physical disabilities category, Muhammad Yusuf Hafizi Shaharuddin had to forget his desire to at least compete in the bronze medal race after finishing 7th out of 10 riders in the qualifying race with a time of 3 minutes 58.413 seconds. In the meantime, bland action continued to be displayed by 2 other national riders, Muhammad Hafiz Jamali and Zuhairi Ahmad Tarmizi, in the men's 1,000 meter C4 time trial physical disabilities. Zuhairi clocked 1 minute 6.472 seconds to come in 10th place, while Muhammad Hafiz posted 1 minute 11.288 seconds to finish in 19th place out of 21 riders overall. On to football. Eric Maxim Choupo-Moting scored 4 goals as Bayern Munich started their bid for a record 21st DFB Pokal title with a 12-0 demolition of German 5th flight club Prima. Choupo-Moting completed his hat-trick with 10 minutes to go in the first half, and Bayern led 5-0 at the break, with Jamal Musiala also on target and Jan-Luca Varm adding an own goal. Malik Tillman and Musiala both scored less than 90 seconds apart in the early stages of the second half. Leroy Sané and Michael Cuisance then made it 9-0 before Choupo-Moting added his 4th, but there was still time for Bouna Sarr and Corentin Tolisso to add their names to the score sheet. A team of urban explorers have visited an abandoned 19th century castle in North Wales, which was last occupied as a hotel until it was destroyed by an electrical fire in the 1980s. The historic building has been left derelict for more than 40 years and has a hefty price tag of £500,000. Let's take a look as we wrap up Nightline this time around. I'm Sabrina Zainal. Thank you for watching and stay safe.